All right, time for our look at the final jewel of the Thoroughbred Racing's Triple Crown. It's the Belmont Stakes run at Saratoga, the distance a mile and a quarter. This time next year, they will be back at Belmont for the test of a champion, a mile and a half. Bobby, I'll ask you: did horse racing dodge a bullet in the fact that if there would have been a Triple Crown on the line, you know how people like to get on Twitter and believe it or not, they kind of argue back and forth a little bit. And if there would have been a Triple Crown awarded at a mile and a quarter race at Saratoga, how would that have gone over, do you think?
I think people like to complain about everything, but let's face it, they're going to be complaining about it next year because at some point after this Saturday, after the Belmont Stakes goes official, Churchill Downs is going to be making an announcement that the timing of next year's Triple Crown
Yeah.
races, at least the Derby to the Preakness, is going to be different. It's not going to be 2 weeks anymore after this year, and Churchill has the say in that. We don't know if it's going to be 3 weeks between. We don't know if there'll be 4 weeks between, but there's going to be a change for sure next year. People complain about everything. I don't think it would have been a big deal.
When do you think that we'll see that announcement, Bobby? Do you think it'll be relatively quickly?
My guess is that the folks at Churchill Downs already know what
Yeah.
they want to do with this, and they probably have already told the folks at Naira what they want to do with this. I have a little friendly wager with James Scully, who works for Churchill Downs. Is probably not a good bet on my part. I think there's going to be 4 weeks between all three, each of the Triple Crown races. He thinks there will be 3 weeks between all three of them. Neither of us think it'll stay as is.
I'm with you. Well, let's get into what we do know. And we do know that the Belmont Stakes is going to be run on Saturday. Post time is 6 o'clock local time, our time, meaning local time in central Iowa. We've got a 9 race card, two of which will be run before the Belmont, then we'll break and resume afterwards. All right, guys, let's just go through them as we've done all year. Mike, you're kind of popping in and out. We're going to cross our fingers and hope we get through there with you. Mike Wilkening down in the right hand corner. Of course, track announcer Bobby Newman, Jeff Holdorf, who you see every night in the clubhouse. Seemingly 12 months out of the year, Jeff Holdorf, and we're grateful for that. Let's get into it. Vitruvian Man is the one horse in here. Bobby, I'll start with you. He's 30-1. I'm not sure what Doug O'Neill is trying to accomplish here. Obviously, he wants to win the race. I'm not sure how feasible that is. Do you have any hope for Vitruvian Man, the one?
Well, I hope that he runs well because he's a fun story with the owner getting some social media folks involved with ownership of Vitruvian Man. But on a purely handicapping standpoint, I think he was almost 50-1 to win the Santa Anita Derby, and he got beat almost 10 lengths that day.
Yeah.
I don't really think he has much hope of being close, let alone winning the Belmont Stakes on Saturday. But the one positive thing I can say is he is going the right direction. His speed figures are improving. I just don't think they're improving enough to make him a real threat.
Let's get our friend Mike Wilkening in here. You've been known to bet long shots, Mike. Is this one of them that you'll be going after on Saturday?
I think he's a little bit tested. He's quite a bit tested for class. I think certainly bred to like the distance, but would have to improve a great deal. I think he's a closer. I think he's going to drop back. It's a tough position to be in from where he is. If he gets a check, I think it would be a successful day for him, but he's not for me on Saturday.
Oldie, there's not a lot of speed in here, Jeff. Obviously, this is going to factor into everybody's handicapping the way we look at this race. When you look at Vitruvian Man, do you see any hope here for him?
I really don't. The Santa Anita Derby that we've talked about in previous, it was so happy. It was Potente. They knocked it out. So happy able to run down Potente. Vitruvian Man went off the sixth longest shot in that 7-horse field, was a distant third, was really non-competitive. We thought the California circuit was pretty weak this year. I always like to try to find a reason why somebody, especially out of our group of four here, might be interested in betting the horse. And I did find an angle that I think certainly impressed Ken Miller. Recently, the ownership stake in this horse was purchased by Run Fast Racing. And everybody knows Run Fast Racing. That's the rap icons Lil Yachty and Lil Wayne. And there's no bigger rap icon in Central Iowa than Ken Miller. So I figure Ken will have a few dollars. I don't want to tip your hand yet, Ken, but figure with the rap icon connection there, you'll have a few dollars on Vitruvian Man come Saturday.
Absolutely. That's how I put myself through college, Holdy, as you well know. I did not go to college. I went to the track. Let's go to number two, Power Shift. Power Shift, emerging market. They ran in the same maiden race. I put both of them immediately in my virtual stable. Power Shift came back on the first race on Derby Day, was just a little better than even money. Got the job done there. Bobby, Power Shift, one of Pletcher's horses. Look, I think he's talented. Is he good enough to beat this field?
I don't think he's good enough to beat this field yet, but he might be the only speed in the race. He certainly looks like the fastest of those who show any sort of speed. And he's going to go with Luis Saez aboard. He's not going to have to go rocket ship fast to get the lead. I don't know if he can hold off the proven closers in this spot, but it's a good spot to try 1.25 miles for the first time, just from a pace scenario.
How about you, Mike?
I like him quite a bit. He's in my top three. I'm going to use him. I think he's one that, if you consider where the Derby, the way it's come back, didn't come back a fast race. I've got a joke that might be a negative G race, considering kind of what we saw sort of go on in the Preakness as well. A fresh face is not necessarily a bad thing. That said, the one time he did step up in class in a graded stakes, didn't run well. But that day he wasn't on the lead. I agree with Bobby. I think he's going to be on the lead here on Saturday. I don't know who goes. And if it comes up wet, particularly, he's one. If you look on the dam side, he's bred to relish the mud. So he's somebody I definitely am going to use on Saturday.
And there is a potential for that, Jeff. How about you in Power Shift?
Well, you assume Rapoli likes to be in the big races, so Rapoli said we're going to put the horse in. You go back and you look at that Grade 3 Tampa Bay Derby, his second race back. Horse broke to his knees, then rushed up, and that really ruined any chance that horse had in that race. Came back on the first race on Kentucky Derby Day, won it 1.16 miles. It was a nice race. I don't know that I was as impressed as I wanted to be when I went back and watched it. You do pick up Luis Saez, Todd Pletcher looking for his 5th Belmont Stakes. I agree with Bob. I think this horse is going to be sent to the front. He's going to have to, I think Pletcher tells him, go to the front, go as long as you can on the front end. Don't give it up. Don't get pressured. Just go, and when you're done, that'll be it. My stamina numbers say this horse will not get the distance. Looks like a nice allowance horse going one turn. I'm not convinced that this horse is going to like 2 turns. I've always been a little prejudiced against Constitution sires, that those horses typically don't like the 2 turns, and I don't think Power Shift is going to like it either on this Saturday.
Chief Wallaby, Bobby's a horse that was getting a lot of positive comments coming out of the Derby. Belmont obviously skipped the Preakness, as we've heard. Was not real fond of heading to Laurel or the state of Maryland. But Chief Wallaby, a lot of people like this horse. Bobby, are you one of them?
Well, I picked him in the Derby because Renegade drew the 1 hole, and I won't pick somebody out of the 1 hole in the Kentucky Derby. But Chief Wallaby didn't have a very good trip either. The problem I have with Chief Wallaby is I know he's very talented. He always seems to have something happen. Either he gets into some sort of trouble, or he gets outmoved, or he's on the wrong part of the racetrack. He's never run a bad race, and he showed in his debut sprinting that he can actually show some speed. I wonder if Junior Alvarado gets this horse a little bit more into the race early on, not taking the lead early, but maybe gets in a pace pressing or stalking position to keep him out of trouble. He's a horse that definitely has a chance to win. He's not going to be my top pick, but he's certainly one I think has a chance to win.
You're using a Mike?
I am. Bit of a grinder. I think the Derby pace, as it was for many, was too much. He had to run faster early than he ever had. Didn't have quite as much punch. I think he's got a fighting chance here. But I would agree with Bobby in the sense that he is a horse that it always seems to be something. Some straw in his path seems to kind of be the reason he doesn't get the roses, if you will. Very talented. I think the ratio's going to be a lot better for him, but he's not on top for me.
How about you, Jeff?
Didn't like him in the Derby. Stamina numbers tell me he should not like 1.25 miles. Did run a very solid race in the Derby, finishing 4th. But I'm going to continue to take my stand against Chief Wallaby. I'm going to stand against him again. Certainly will use him underneath in the exotics, but I will not play him on top in the Belmont this Saturday.
Bobby, you took a stand against Renegade because he drew post position number one. He ran a remarkable race in the Kentucky Derby, draws post number four. Renegade is the morning line favorite with Ortiz, the same connections back again. Renegade, he's the morning line favorite, I think deservedly so. You liked him prior to the post draw on the first Saturday in May. Do you like him here today, Bobby?
Actually, I loved him before the post draw for the first Saturday in May, but I promised myself I wouldn't bet a horse from the rail. There's only two horses I think don't mind drawing the one hole in an 18 or a 20 horse field. One that can outbreak the field and just got out in front of them, and that's all that matters. But as far as I can tell, there aren't any war admirals that are running in the last 100 years or so, or a horse like Golden Tempo. I don't think it really mattered what post position Golden Tempo would have drawn. He's going to be last anyway early on. If he draws the rail, he just has less work to get over to the rail and save ground around the first turn. But anyone in between those two scenarios, it's bad. And Renegade had as bad a trip as you can have, and he still only lost by a neck. In my mind, he was 4 lengths better than anyone else in that field. As it turned out at the wire, he was not 4 lengths better, but he had about 4 lengths worth of trouble. His biggest obstacle, I think, this Saturday is the pace scenario. There's not a lot of pace in the field, but he is a horse that has closed very well despite not fast paces in front of him in the past. I think a clean trip, and he's the best horse.
Mike, are you playing Renegade? Is he your top pick?
I think the key for Renegade, as I see it, can he show a little bit more tactical speed like we started to see? I'm not saying they're the same horse, but what we started to see with Sovereignty as last year went on. We started to be able to stay a little bit closer and still have that pick. That Arkansas Derby in 5-year efforts, what we saw there was a really good pace effort, close enough to kick on and then a faster finish than anybody else. I would agree that he probably has, from a talent and from an ability, and you consider everything standpoint, probably the most talented horse in this field. If you look at the base numbers, he's got the fastest quarter fractional of anybody in this race. If you go way back to his maiden race, I know that I said that around the Derby. I know he's got it in him. It sounds like he's being trained a little bit more to speed here. If we see that, I think he's your most likely win cost.
Holdy, I stopped by your table in the clubhouse of Prairie Meadows on Monday. You were re-watching some of Renegade's races. It was the Sam Davis when I stopped by. I got the feeling you weren't blown away by that effort. Obviously, you saw what he did in the Derby. Will you use Renegade?
Yeah, I definitely will. Watching the 3 races, now granted, yes, he was smashed coming out of the one hole in the Kentucky Derby, and as Bob already alluded to, cost him at least 4 lengths, and he would have probably won the Kentucky Derby. But the best buyer speed figure, the best equibase figure of any horse in this race coming out of that Arkansas Derby. That Arkansas Derby was a very impressive race. He has that one big sweeping move that I think makes him faster than just about anybody in here. You get Irad back. Irad wants revenge on his brother that beat him in the Kentucky Derby on Golden Tempo. The last 4 times Irad's ridden for Todd Pletcher in the Belmont, he's finished no worse than second. He won with Mo Donegal in 2022. He was second with Mindframe. If you're somebody who just wants to have a little action in the Derby and you're not a hardcore horse race fan, well, I don't know why you're watching this if that's the case, but that's beside the point. If you're looking to have a little action, assuming Renegade goes off the favorite, the last time a favorite in the Belmont did not hit the board was all the way back in 2016. So Exaggerator didn't hit the board in 2016. So the favorite usually is very competitive in this race, and I certainly think Renegade goes off the favorite, and Renegade's definitely going to hit the board, just whether if he has enough to get to the winner's circle or not.
I'm going to play against him because I know he's going to be a short price. Bobby, I'll turn this over to you. I have no idea how to say the five horse's name. He won or rather finished second, a distant second behind Further Ado in the Bluegrass. Hasn't been seen yet since. 1 or 3 for Chad Browns. How about the five horse here, Bobby?
Think it's Otinho, and he certainly looks like a horse who's on the improve. He's another one, although I think he's better than what Vitruvian Man is down along the rail. Otinho is another one that, at least at this point, doesn't look like a win contender to me. But the fact that he is on the improve, it wouldn't surprise me if he ran third or fourth, kind of clunked up there for a minor award.
Bottom of your tickets as well, Mike?
Yes, I think the move to Dylan Davis, I think this is a horse he's going to take back. I think that's where he wants to run from. Certainly bred to be any type. And, it's a race where if Renegades and if Golden Tempo becomes a case where they both show a little bit more pace, get a little bit closer to it, and one of them doesn't go on, perhaps this is one, if he does take back, that could pick up a piece or two, but he's very unlikely to win in my view.
You feel that way, Jeff?
Yeah, I thought the comments of Chad Brown are very interesting. I mean, this horse is a half to gun runner, so obviously no problem getting the distance. And Chad Brown said, quoting him, he looks the part, he just hasn't put it together yet on the track. You look at him like a prospect in football. He's a 5-star, 6'6" quarterback, can sling it all over the place, measures out well at the combine. His brother's a Manning, but he still isn't just quite there yet. So when do you look for Otinho to put it all together? Could it be this Saturday? Yeah, it certainly could, and I think you got to cover yourself that just in case this horse does put it all together. But certainly his performances thus far does not indicate that this Saturday is going to be his day. But cover yourself in some exactas and some trifectas, and I think you'll be all right.
Growth Equity, Bobby, seems to be on the improve. Broke his maiden 2 outs ago and then came back and won Grade 3 Peter Pan in its own impressive fashion. Pratt goes elsewhere, as we know. Matty Franco picks up the amount on Growth Equity, the second of Chad Brown's horses.
Yeah, and the fact that Flavian Pratt doesn't stick aboard him and he stays with Emerging Market instead for Chad Brown, I think speaks volumes here. But Growth Equity is another one that's improving. He beat a decent, not great Grade 3 Peter Pan field last time out. The horses who were behind him, Talk to Me, Jimmy, and Trendsetter, are nice horses. But would you think either one of those horses would fit against Renegade and these kind of horses? My guess is no. I know he beat them, and he's a lightly raced horse who's on the improve, but he's another one that to me seems like no better than maybe second or third if he ran really, really well.
Mike, when you see that the jock who had the winning jock goes elsewhere, obviously you factor it into your handicapping. How much?
Not particularly. I think that, given the choice, I tend to think that, you probably would, in this case, get off Growth Equity and sort of look elsewhere. I think he's a nice horse, but he's beaten 4-horse field, 5-horse field. I think he's not particularly bred to go 10 furlongs. The damn side is a sprinter. I just think that this is probably a little too much for him at this stage. But again, I couldn't talk anybody out of taking a shot in a race that I think is probably not the deepest Belmont that we've seen.
That's a great point. 4 horses in the maiden win and 5 in the Peter Pan. Hold, are you using Growth Equity or passing?
Definitely passing. You took the words right out of my mouth. Even money favorite in a 5-horse Peter Pan. It was kind of a stalk and grind trip when you watched that race a couple of different times. Didn't really have that big turn of foot that I think you're going to need here in the final quarter of a mile. Again, like Mike said too, Wildcat Air on the dam side, certainly a lot of sprinter on the dam side, not convinced wants anything to do with a 1.25 miles, let alone roaring down the stretch at a 1.25 miles. So Growth Equity will be not on my tickets.
Commandment, Bobby, is a horse who had an impressive winning streak coming into the Derby. He was, I guess, the best in Florida. He won the Florida Derby and the Fountain of Youth, so you got to give that to him. I took a stand against him in the Kentucky Derby. He still ran a decent race by all accounts. Is he maybe getting overlooked here? Could Commandment fool this field and wind up in the winner's circle?
I took a stand against him in the Kentucky Derby too, and to be honest, I don't even know why I took a stand against
Yeah,
him.
really.
He had not
Me
really
too.
done anything wrong. It was just one of those things where he had been winning, but not, convincingly winning, just kind of grinding by. And I just thought there were other ways to go. But really, he hasn't run a bad race, and he's another one that had trouble in the Derby. I'm not picking him on top, but he's definitely run races that make him a contender to win the Belmont Stakes on Saturday, and he's 6-1 on the morning line. You'll probably get every bit of that at post time.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to use them, Mike. How about you?
Not for me this Saturday, but wouldn't talk anybody off of him. Kind of a mid-pack grinder type. If you do want to make an excuse from the Derby, 5, 6 wide off the turn, he's likely to be, I think, a little bit closer this time, though I think a wide trip, again, it could be a concern. I just think all things considered, this is one, when you look at the Florida form on balance, those Gulfstream races, and it's hard to entirely say with Puma coming out of the Derby. But that form, I don't think is held up all that great, or has been as stout as maybe as the speed figures thought. So I'm going to pass on Saturday, but he certainly, I think, is a better horse than what he showed 5 weeks ago.
Jeff Holdorf, Commandment.
Yeah, I think Brad Cox says a lot by choosing to run Commandment here, and he chooses not to run Further Ado. Further Ado is going to run Sunday in the Grade 3 Matt Winn at Churchill. So I think that speaks volumes in his confidence in Commandment. Again, kind of the grinding type style of this horse. Picks up his fourth different jockey in 4 races. I found that kind of interesting / concerning.
Yeah.
You get Johnny V here riding for Brad Cox. You had Saez in the Kentucky Derby. You had Pratt in the Florida Derby. Irad rode in the Fountain of Youth. Usually if you have connections that have a horse they really think is going to be top tier in the Kentucky in all 3 of the Triple Crown races, you usually don't see 3 different jockeys on the horse in the 3 different races. One other little nugget, Brad Cox has not been better than 3rd in his last 16 Triple Crown races, where you always think of him as one of the elite trainers in the country. The last Cox horse hit the top 2 in a Triple Crown race, Essential Quality, back in 2021. So he's out of a bit of a dry spell, and he's going to put his eggs in the basket of Commandment to break that streak here on Saturday.
Yeah, that is kind of an alarming stat. You wouldn't have thought that with as many horses as he has and good horses. All right, here's Emerging Market. This was my pick to win the Kentucky Derby. He obviously did not get there. I had maybe had some excuses. I thought he was far too close to the pace for my liking. Bobby, Emerging Market, the 8 horse at 6-1 with Flavien Prat.
Yeah, a lot of people like him. I didn't like him in the Kentucky Derby. He supposedly lost a shoe in the race, and maybe that's enough and a bit of an excuse. Plus, he was close to what certainly was too fast of a pace. He's probably going to be up close to a pace again this time out, not nearly as fast a pace. He ran real close with Power Shift in a maiden race, not too many starts back. And I would think that both Emerging Market and Chief Wallaby could be stalking Power Shift in the early going and keep him out of trouble. He may be the one who gets the first run. It's just whether or not he's good enough to hold off the closers when they get to the top of the stretch.
How do you like Emerging Market, Mike Wilkening?
Of the non-horses named Renegade in this Derby, I think he's the most likely to improve. He was close to that pace, but if you go back 2 races, Louisiana Derby, that came up fairly swift for that distance in the early sectionals there. So he's shown an ability to kind of sit fairly close and get that first run. I do think he'll get that on Saturday. I think there's a better horse in there than we saw in Kentucky. Maybe it was too much too soon. Smaller field, probably a better pace scenario for him. I think he has a real chance.
How about you, Jeff? You like him?
I really like him in this spot. Just his 4th career race again. People have to keep that in mind. This is a young, lightly raced horse that they have huge expectations for. I think I said back at the Kentucky Derby, look for this horse to win the Travers, not the Kentucky Derby. I think this horse has an excellent opportunity to improve. They're still trying to figure out exactly where he threw his shoe in the Kentucky Derby. Flavian Pratt, Chad Brown, both think that it was likely going into that first turn when all the horses in that first turn of the Kentucky Derby all meld together and get bounced around and jumbled together. They think that's where he threw the shoe, made his foot sore, perhaps an excuse why he didn't have the kick, because he certainly looked position. He was close enough in the Kentucky Derby, and I think for those watching Emerging Market in the Kentucky Derby thought, boy, one big run down the stretch and off to the winner's circle we go. Horse came up empty, but as Chad Brown said, the horse had a sore foot for a few days after the Derby. You know, if this horse continues to improve, Flavian Pratt sticks with the horse where he obviously had lots of other options. I'd really like this horse to improve here at the Belmont. The one kicker here, Chad Brown is 0 for 5 in the Belmont Stakes. His best chance that he's had in his career was with Sierra Leone. I think he's got a big shot here for Emerging Market to maybe make him a one-time winner of the Belmont Stakes.
All right, here is the Derby winner, Bobby Newman. Our final horse is Golden Tempo, post position number 9. He's 9-2 in the Belmont Stakes. Does he take down his second jewel of a Triple Crown? Can he win the Belmont, Bobby?
Well, can he win the Belmont and will he win the Belmont are two different questions. Yes, he can win the Belmont, just as he won the Derby. I didn't think he would win the Derby. A lot of things had to happen, in my mind, for him to win the Derby. And a lot of those things were other horses, for one reason or another, not running as well as they had in previous starts. I don't think Golden Tempo ran any better in the Kentucky Derby, speed figure wise, than he had been running in, like when he ran third in the Louisiana Derby. It's just all the horses who would run faster either had trouble at the start, trouble late, got bounced around, either threw a shoe, whatever excuses there were. I don't think that Golden Tempo was a cubic zirconium like Rich Strike was a few years ago, a total fraud that just somehow everything went right. I think everything did have to go right for Golden Tempo to win, but I think there are about 3 or 4 others in this field that have races in their past performances that are faster than anything Golden Tempo has run. And I joked about it on my radio show. I said, I not only don't think Golden Tempo will win the Belmont, he will not win another race this year and will not be the Eclipse Award Eclipse winning 3-year-old for the year, because he's only going to run in the biggest races now. He's going to run in the Belmont. He's going to run somewhere in the Travers, and whether that means going to the Haskell or the Jim Dandy first. And he's going to probably run in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Mm-hmm. And he's going to be running against all these horses that I think are better than him. He beat him that one time. He's not going to get quite the scenario this time. He's a really good horse. I don't think he wins the Belmont.
Nor do I. What about you, Mike Wilkening?
Certainly can win it. I agree with Bobby in that I don't think Saturday necessarily is the day for him. It's a wonderful pace setup in the Kentucky Derby. I don't think he'll get the same sort of trip here. He's another one you'd like to see him be more tactical at some point. I don't know if that's necessarily in the playbook at this point, and I don't know why you'd mess with the Derby winner at this point, but and the thing I'd say too is I probably like him more at 1.25 miles than 1.5 miles, considering, again, I think he's someone that's always, we think of a Sierra Leone, we think of some of these deep closers of the past. When that pace heats up, that's when they shine the brightest. I think that's probably going to be the way he succeeds now and in the future, but I just don't think there's enough heat on Saturday for him.
All right, Jeff Holdorf. Can Golden Tempo wear the carnations on Saturday?
I don't believe so, Ken. I hate to mimic exactly what I've heard from Mike and Bob, but I think the pace scenario was ideal in the Kentucky Derby, and he's not going to find that same kind of pace scenario where everything falls apart in front of him and some of the other closers have horrible trips. I think everything broke perfectly for him in the Kentucky Derby. I don't think it will here in the Belmont, and I don't need to echo exactly what Bob and Mike said, but I think it's spot on. I agree with Bob. I think you'd be lucky to see Golden Tempo win another race in 2026, and I don't think he's going to win it on Saturday.
Yeah, Rich Strike, mind that bird, both offers. After that, we will see where it fits. All right, Mike,
he's better than that. He's definitely better than those.
No, I agree with you. I'm just pointing out the fact that they didn't get there. All right, who is your pick, Bobby Newman?
I like Renegade. I probably won't love him if he's 3-2 or 8-5, which is probably what he's going to be. But I think he's the best horse if they all get clean trips, and I think he has a much better chance of a clean trip in the Belmont Stakes than he had last time out.
All right, on and taking public transportation in Chicago, Mike Wilkening, let's get your pick before you miss your stop.
You know what the remarkable thing is right now, if you were to look out my window, you would see what is the remains of Arlington Park, of
Wow.
all things, which is in my background, and just so happens that that's where I'm pulling up. Now that I've brought down the mood, I'm going to pick a favorite. I think Renegade is probably the best course here, and I like him on Saturday more than what I'm seeing right now out to my north, which is again a field that should be a racetrack. Be that as it may, Renegade for me.
And it was a palace, no doubt about that. Jeff Holdorf, are you picking to win the Belmont?
Before we get to my pick, I have one little nugget to throw in for those of you that like to play exotics. No horse longer than 25-1 has hit the superfecta in the Belmont since 2008. I think everybody remembers 2008. That's when Datara went wire to wire in the big brown Belmont. That was quite the disheartening show there. So, don't get too crazy with the long bombers on the bottom side of your superfecta. But as it goes for me on top, I absolutely love Renegade, but I'm going to play Emerging Market on top. I'm going to hope to find a price on top. I'll have some Renegade sprinkled in as well, but Emerging Market's going to be my play on Saturday.
I'm with you, Jeff Holdorf. Emerging Market, I'll take Commandment to be second. Gentlemen, Bobby Newman, Mike Wilkening, Jeff Holdorf, thank you for doing this. We'll assemble again when the Festival of Racing hits down in the middle of July. We certainly look forward to that. Enjoy the Belmont, boys. Thanks for doing this. And all of you out there watching this, again, post time, Prairie Meadows live card Saturday night, 5 o'clock. We'll run 2 races, take a break, show the Belmont, and resume our card. Thanks for being with us. On behalf of the crew, we'll see you at the races.